Hello Internet! There's been a little bit of talk online recently about counter storage, from Neil going over his Hosan setup to Stu having a look at the Racco set with all the 3D printed inserts which Ritterkrieg have been selling. I've thought about how we can best simplify counter storage for any situation. I've been out playing Lock and Load Tactical recently. I picked up Heroes of the Bitter Harvest and I don't have a solution yet. Here are my German forces, baggies and baggies and baggies of counters, and I thought there's got to be a better way. I found this little storage case and I thought, you know what, I think this could be just the right size to store all of the troops, both the Germans and the Russians, in one go. So I've made a little tool on FreeCAD to help 3D print any type of counter into any type of storage and make it fit perfectly. So here's going to be a little demonstration of exactly what I do. Next, of course, you want to measure the box itself. You really want to measure the inside, the bottom here, because a lot of cases like this, they're going to taper in, so you want to get the smallest measurement. I've already decided that I want to split this in two, so I'm going to be measuring half a piece here, and I think I'm having 3 layers of trays for the infantry, the weapons teams, and the vehicles. I might split those up into smaller halves as well. I haven't quite decided yet. I'll have to have a look and see how many cells each one makes. But again, you can get your trusty old ruler out or your calipers, whichever's best to measure. But you're going to want to be slightly smaller than this if you're going to mismeasure anyway. You want to make it slightly smaller than this so it will definitely fit. Because if it's slightly larger, you've printed out something which is just going to be a waste of time and plastic. So this is my view on FreeCAD. This file will be available on Thingiverse. There'll be a link in the description below. And when you come to look at it, it's got one main object called counter tray. This item here, the final counter tray, will be the STL that is generated, and that is all driven by this information in here. So over here you want to just type in whatever sizes you want in the selections with green here. So if I want the tray is currently 100mm wide. If I want it to be 150mm wide, type that in. It has a think. And if you keep an eye on the right hand side of the screen here where the object is, I'll have a little recalculate and bang, there it is, with all the right cells. Likewise, if I want to change the size of the counters from 16.75mm, let's say we've got some really big counters, some 32mm square counters. Hit the thing, it'll have a little think, and there, readjusted. The tray is the same size. It's made the counters as evenly spaced as possible, whilst also respecting the minimum wall thickness. That's this one here. So that's the outer wall and the lower floor, the thickness of the base. So I find that 1.5mm is reasonable. It gives a good bit of flexibility and it doesn't use as much plastic. The real amount of plastic is going to be on these inner pieces, and that's entirely based on the size of the counters. If I bring these counters back down to 25mm, as you'll see, smaller counters, it'll be able to fit in more cells, and the amount of space here changes. So it can't quite fit 3 across in this tray length, but if I make it a little bit longer here, let's say make that 90mm, again, I'll have a little think. It's quite slow on my computer because this is just a bit of an old laptop I'm showing this on. And there, it instantly recalculates to whatever size it is. If I decide I want it to be 35mm deep, computer's a bit of thinking time, they're big trays. So with this, all you do is you type in the size of the counters, how thick you want the walls to be. I find 1.5mm is fine, and the width, length and height of the tray itself, and it will calculate all the rest and make a perfectly fitting tray. Keep in mind, for counter size, you really want it to be 0.3, 0.5 of a mil bigger than the actual counters, so there's a bit of wiggle room to get them in and out easier. When that's done, you just select final counter tray over here, File, Export, and here you can export it as an STL file ready to go over to your slicer software. All you need is FreeCAD. It's a completely free download, and all you need to do to make these counters is load up the param spreadsheet and change these 5 boxes here, these 5 cells in the spreadsheet here. And then, after a few hours of printing, you should have these nice little trays ready for your counters. So after a quick little test, we can already see that these are going to fit in just perfectly snugly in here. Got the smaller one here for the weapons team, because of how many German weapons counters I needed, I knew I needed this little tray. Got this one here for the smaller staff trays again. There's a bit of wiggle room, a bit of a flip, but when they're all in there and stacked in that box, it's going to work really nicely. So I've got this tray here, so just a quick little test. You can see these all fit perfectly snugly in here. I have my Germans here. I've got this side ready for my Russians, which I'll have to print out separately. And when it's all done, that'll be really good. So now, just for the laborious task of getting all of my counter baggies, emptying them and sorting them into these trays the way I best see fit. And so, after all that sorting, here's the end result. One nicely sealed container. Got my German troops, my Russian troops. It can take a little bit of shaking. This doesn't fit perfectly, but for storing at home, it's great. If I'd made it a little bit tighter, or if I put a layer on the top, then it would probably survive bouncing a lot more. But as it is, this is a great portable storage system. I've got these red trays with all my Russian troops in here. With the hole in the bottom, you can poke the stacks out from underneath with a pen or something, but with these gaps in between, you can get your tweezers in to pull counters as you need them. And they all just fit in there so snugly. Perfectly laying out all of my counters I need. And all storing back in this arbitrary size box. So I personally think that this little file I made on FreeCAD is going to be really useful in storing counters of all sizes. I've got my eyes set on doing all of my ASLS-K counters now. If I can find some suitable boxes, I'll get some trays printed up accordingly. Now, there are some limitations to this counter storage method. The file I've made in FreeCAD can only cope with square counters at the moment. So for the rank and file historic games that have the rectangular counters you occasionally see, it won't be so good. But for any other system, you can make the perfect counters, trays of any size to fit any box you happen to find. Get on your craft shop, your pound shop, your dollar store, wherever. You can find a nice little storage case, and you can create trays that will fit into it perfectly. I personally think this is going to revolutionise how I store my counters going forwards. And as I've already said, the file's available on Thingiverse. You can click the link in the description below, and if you've got a 3D printer or a friend who has one, you can go ahead and enhance your storage solution. If you've got any questions, just drop me a comment below. I'm happy to answer anything. If you do make any of your own, please do post a make on Thingiverse. That's really helpful to get some exposure on there. And otherwise, until next time, happy gaming!